Okay, so we're going to talk now about some other attitudes related to the work, but my skeptical side is going to put a red flag up and say, I'm not sure that these attitudes we're going to talk about now are really not different from job satisfaction, or if maybe they're just subcomponents of job satisfaction. Okay? Organizational commitment is a good one. I like organizational commitment. It's kind of like patriotism or school spirit, how much you love your company, something of this nature. And so there's three specifically different kinds of commitment. That is the emotional component. It's kind of like a continuous, will I stay with this company? And kind of like a moral commitment. Do I feel obligated to do things to help this company? Okay? And so, just like with job satisfaction, we can talk about the antecedents and the consequences of organizational commitment. And so, we find that there's organizational mechanisms that create organizational commitment, like logos and insignia and swags and newsletters and all kinds of different things that get you involved in your organization. There's personal characteristics associated with organizational commitment. I mean, you can imagine younger people really don't have a lot of commitment to their organizations. And then social factors. And then the consequences are just like we saw before. People that have high organizational commitment tend to have higher job performance. People that have high organizational commitment tend to have fewer withdrawal behaviors. So we find the same types of relationships that we saw with job satisfaction. So yeah, organizational mechanisms, socialization, formal rewards. I personally have always felt that at the university level, when you're hiring a new faculty member, you want a faculty member to have organizational commitment. If you don't have organizational commitment with a faculty member, you get turnover. Wow, is turnover a mess because, the universities work on year-to-year cycles, and so if somebody quits, it's at least 1 year before you can get somebody into that position. You can't just turn around and grab somebody. It doesn't work like that. Okay? Hey. Okay, I thought my microphone was out, but looks like it's okay. Clearly there are personal, as we said, age. The older you get, the more commitment you tend to have. The complexity or level of the job. Managers tend to have more commitment than, lower levels. So all kinds of different factors can be involved here. And so how do you measure it? We got ourselves our Likert scale, so might as well use it. On a scale of 1 to 7, I would be very happy to spend the rest of my life in this organization. Forever. So, the three different types of commitment to the organization. Okay? Clearly, organizational commitment is related to job performance in a positive way, right? We see this, but I don't know. I have it written somewhere around here that organizational commitment is strongly correlated with job satisfaction as well. So I don't know exactly where it fits in the model or what's going on, but clearly organizational commitment is negatively associated with withdrawal behaviors, negatively associated with counterproductive work behaviors, a variety of things. Another job attitude that has been studied is interesting, organizational identification. And organizational identification is a important attitude, and I can see some distinctions with job satisfaction, but yet I can see a lot of overlap as well. That is here. This is really an interesting way to say it. So here's 5 different options, and the red circle represents you, and the green circle represents your organization. So which of these 5 represents your relationship to your organization? Okay, and it's like, look at that. I mean, I am me, and my job is my job. Okay, we're friends with each other. We're besties. We're creepy crazy on top of each other. So, take your pick. Which one is you? All right. And again, you will find organizational identification is associated with, right, all of the job performance and etc. Okay? couple of other on the side different work attitudes would be like job involvement. That is, when you are performing your job, how engaged do you get? Like flow. If you've ever heard of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's conception of flow, he argues that the majority of people that when they define happiness, they define it in terms of like at a party with my friends and frenzied. But he says no. Happiness comes from a contentedness and peace. Happiness comes from getting so engaged in a task that you lose track of who you are versus what the task is. You get into the state he calls flow. And so job involvement is a lot like this conception of flow. So while you're performing your job, are you acutely aware at all possible moments that you are performing your job, or you're so deeply engaged that you just sort of lose track of time and, oh, wow, it's time to go home already, you know? And then the last one here, work centrality, and that is how much work is important to your life. And again, we can imagine work centrality would be strongly related to things such as people that are paid by the hour versus people that are salaried, okay? So all kinds of different possibilities, okay? So that's what we have for job attitudes.